Aloha, everyone out there in internet, radio, and TV land. This is Jason Schwartz, your host of The Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com on KAKU, 88.5 FM on the radio, and also I guess it's Akaku, Maui Community TV Media, and on the net at Maui Neutral Zone. And we're going to have links on all the things and probably give a link to Michael Molina. Michael Molina is presently on council. He's been there a while. He served in the mayor's office, and he's a guy that I know a long time. And I'm so happy to have you here with me. Thank you for taking the time in your incredibly busy schedule to be with us here. Michael Molina, councilman, and now candidate for mayor of Maui. What made you decide now is the time, Mike?
Well, thanks, Jason, first for allowing me to be here and joining you and your listeners. Well, I guess some of the reasons why I decided to give the office of the mayor a shot on my end is, ironically, I worked out of the office of the mayor for 8 years and also 14 years as a council member. So those experiences are very helpful to me and giving me a great understanding of the process of county government, as well as a great understanding of the needs of our departments as to how they can better provide services to our community. In addition to that, I've always believed in open, accountable, and responsive government. And I believe leaders should be facilitators, not dictators, and always be open to keep relationships positive and open with the constituency. And as you know, some of you may know or not know that I was a public school teacher for a number of years. And I had two uncles that were in the county council. Those years of training as a teacher, as well as what was imparted to me by my relatives, taught me three very important things, and that is to listen, work cooperatively, and treat all opinions with respect. So I feel, the way I see it, these principles that have been ingrained in me will serve me well should I become the next mayor of Maui County. And I would expect the people that I hire to share these same principles, for example, as directors and appointees, with a long-term goal of providing great customer service and restoring public faith and trust in government. So those are just a number of reasons I'm running, as well as all of the other issues that are important to us, such as housing, diversifying our economy, environment, and so forth, which we can elaborate on a little bit later, Jason.
Yeah, well, when I hear you talk, here's my take on it. Mike Molina's been on council successfully, and then got to work in the mayor's office and sees the nuts and bolts of running those things from the mayor's perspective, running things from the council. And now, maybe another term or two, even if you were reelected, the question is, are we at a pivotal point in Maui to take the reins and restore that, especially in this last couple of years with this COVID thing and this thing about masks and mandates. There's all kinds of issues. And homelessness has exploded and prices are exploding. And I see the council, you've heard my expression, it's not mine. Sometimes it's difficult to remember that your original intention was to drain the swamp when you're up to your, I'm allowed to say it, I guess, ass and alligators. There are so many things that are pressing problems, so many dollars, and you got to find a way to multiply them without creating more expense for people that are burdened from costs. And you have to be listening to everyone. And you are one of the very clear council members who honors people that are in front of you. You're just really respectful. It just shows for all these years, you are one of the most respectful and respected people out there, Mike, because of the way you are. I'm really happy to see you stepping up for mayor. This year is really interesting. Out of the nowhere, to me, came this guy, this tall, dark, local guy with a lot of money accumulating. And it isn't the mayor. He's tall. He may be a little dark sometimes. But how you're going at this campaign, what's your strategy? Just give me, I know that sounds funny. In your race, you're the little guy against a couple of Goliaths. In my race, I'm running in Council Kahului. Tasha Kama, everyone doesn't like everything. So there's a huge number of people. I'm a little guy against 6 Goliaths with money and blah, blah. And I'm running on who and what I've been giving to the community all these years, and that people will hopefully let that be shared. Like you. That's how I look at you. You are such a strong light all these years, you know?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for those nice words, Jason. I appreciate it. Well, one thing you and I have in common, we're both going up against Goliaths, if you will, in terms of money and war chest and everything else. Starting off first, strategy wise, I've pretty much always been more of a grassroots oriented type of campaigner. I've never had a huge war chest over the years when compared to others. I've always believed in just operating the old-fashioned way, just make your dollars stretch and get your word out the old-fashioned way by whatever means you can do. I mean, if you can't afford expensive social media or gigantic signs, well, you just get out there and do the best you can. And, all we have is our accomplishments and contributions to the community that we can express to people, as well as our integrity. I think those are the two things you have. If you don't have a lot of money, at least you have that to get out to the public. As far as big money, I've never been one to approach large off-island businesses or corporations. Mostly it's the optics, Jason, because if these days people are a little suspicious of candidates who choose to accept humongous amounts of money. I've chosen not to. In years past, yes, I did accept some large donations, but typically from political action committees, but not, large offshore corporations or, big business. My thought process with all of this is that if you choose to accept a lot of money, who will your master be? Will it be the individual organization that gives you a ton of money versus the local constituency who may or may not donate to your campaign? Will both of these sides have equal access to you? And how much influence will one side have over the other? Will it be the same, or will one side have more influence? So that's the question, all candidates who accept big donations will have to answer to the public too. So, and it's nothing illegal if a candidate wants to accept large donations. It's just the optics, and you have to defend that because there's a lot of folks these days who are very suspicious of large off-island donations and how much influence that money will have in local government.
I wonder about that. I saw Kai Kahului, who was happily poised in his role nationally, and now it's an interesting strategy to say, hey, Josh Green gets such big money. Is he going to be influenced? We don't want Hawaii to be sold out. I wonder. I mean, I wonder how much, you've been around it a long time. You may tell me, yes, it really does make a difference, or it doesn't. I always wonder about that. Do you feel it's a big difference?
Well, I guess the higher the office, it can make a difference because then it gives you more opportunities to get your message out. You can expand by investing in television and other mediums where you can get your message. But again, if you have a stand-up reputation in the local community, that goes a long way too. And if you have shown to the public that you have integrity, that you'll treat their concerns with respect and listen with empathy, I think that can be just as powerful a tool as money, because as we've seen in the past, money doesn't always win elections. You recall the mayoral race on the Big Island, Harry Kim, years ago?
Oh, yeah.
He was accepting no more than $10 donations, and this man was amazing. But he was a voice in the community for a long time as the civil defense director, so his name was already well known. But still, I think it resonated well with the public that here's an individual that's not willing to accept humongous donations and respects the resources of our working people. And our working people don't have a lot of resources to give, but yet, he's willing to forego big money and, prioritize the needs of our working citizens.
Well, and in those shoes are you and me. We're happy to take money, big money, if it comes at us, but we're really for the people, you and the community. And that's what I've been, sometimes I wonder, have I been doing any value here? But on the TV, talking to candidates for 13, 14 elections, I keep thinking, you're one of the few guys that's listening to me. I've been talking about stuff for all these years, solutions, and then I see these people sitting in their seats, and it's like they don't turn around to look at what's been offered. That's why I'm running. I'm really running because I think the people are going to resonate with ideas. You'll see. There's a book, I brought it out to show you because Gaviotis, what is that? In 1992, my brother's wife said, hey, I'm reading this book. I remember I just come to Maui in 88 and I was trying to get people here to recognize renewable energy and solar when I was a broker. This is a village in 1974 was honored by the UN as the most significant example of self-sustainability in the world in remote Colombia. I went to a conference a couple of years later. There's an interview I did with these guys. I talked to Tom Gizzerni, the president of Maui Electric. Pundy and I had an idea about taking it and sharing it. But the people here, it was like, okay, who's this guy, Schwartz? He's new here. And they were set on their agenda. And it's the old, maybe you as a local, you hear about the old boy network. That just means to me, father would necessarily recommend his son. The people know the people. It's sort of a natural thing. But how do we take new ideas and let them in and process them? That's how I think of you. I think of Mike Molina as listening. Listen. I just heard like yesterday, you guys had a vote. You didn't want to be looking at Queen Kahului Center as a multi-use place yet for housing development, right? I was thinking about that place long ago and thought, man, I'd like to, if I was Trump, I'd have a Trump Tower right there. What a great view. The whole world is, but you know what? It's the last remnant of the Kahului Center city. When we get rid of that, we don't have a Kahului Center city, monument like Kahului Center. I don't want to give that up. Excuse me.
Well, so speaking of that, Jason, I think the intentions of the planning department was good. We're all seeking different ways to get additional housing, but let's make sure we include all parties. They had their planning commission meeting and we had a committee meeting, but there was no evening meeting. As we saw with proposed developments in Wailuku, when you don't reach out to all members of the community, you can get a lot of backlash. So that's the primary reason why I was expressed my hesitancy on making a decision. And they admitted they did not go out during and have an evening meeting with the people of Wailuku for, a proposal to do the mill yard to allow for housing there. So my preference is, get buy-in people from the first before you decide to move forward.
See, that's the kind of thinking that a mayor does. You see, I'm just giving you my picture of you. You're someone who's had the experience and knows what they're doing and listens to the voice of the public and listens to ideas, is public about them. Like sometimes the people on the council vote some way, and then later the public is gripping and yipping and yapping because they don't share why they make those decisions clearly. And it gets combative. Mike Molina is a deal maker. I want to say you're like me, but you're an individual with your own style who listens to everyone and wants all parties at the table to go away winning. I don't always feel that with some of the others.
Yeah, you have some folks that are very headstrong in their opinions and their views, and maybe, shall I say, maybe tunnel vision. But I think as a leader and a facilitator, you have to look around you, as you said. Look in front of you, look behind you, and hear all opinions and ideas, so you can come up with a solution that's acceptable by all. And if I could touch upon the legislation
Please.
that I've put out in the past that was successful, I'm quick to provide recognition to those who contributed. It wasn't just only Mike Molina. It was my staff. It was members out there in the community who all together, by working collaboratively, we all shared in legislation that made our community good. And that's where I think all leaders should have that mindset. And I know sometimes we get caught up in the forums by saying, I did this, I did that. But the reality is it's we together.
Well, you sound like may the Schwartz be with you.us. I use that to get to my website, but it is together. you may not know. I'm just throwing these in because I know this interview is going to get watched because Mike Molina is a real. You are, like I say, you've been a fixture here, but you've been a support fixture. You've been on council and part of a group, and you've been in the mayor's office. I can't say how valuable that feels to me in proceeding forward in this next election. You know, I haven't met with these guys, Bisson or Victorino. I've met some of the others and interviewed them, but you have the experience that is unquestionably clear, your experience, your contributions. I remember last election, someone said to me quietly that our mayor was hoping somebody else wouldn't run because it's his time. I don't know. I think that this is an open time. You are a strong candidate and you offer a clear choice. You're Mike Molina. And that to me is so great because I can say that and be comfortable. I can like these other people, but I know from your experience that I've seen here locally.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Jason.
Let me ask you a wingding question. I'm meaning that you're on council. Homelessness. I get overwhelmed. I've been trying to help find people get housing for so long. I'm getting bloody. The agencies don't have enough money, don't have enough places, don't have enough staff, don't have enough resources, want to shove people in one thing. How are you approaching it these days? If you were mayor, any changes that are right over the horizon?
Well, this is what I would propose, that we take a real aggressive approach with housing. I mean, much more so than this present administration. I mean, this is a crisis. And let's focus on, for now, right now, the unsheltered working people. These folks are doing the right thing. They're working. We need to offer them a hand up and provide some form of assistance in terms of maybe acquiring land from some of the large landowners and creating more of these tiny homes that, for example, we see down on Waiale Road.
May I tell you, those are little hot boxes. I can do it at a fraction of the cost. People come to me, and it may be because I'm known as this environmental guy, right? They come to me with solutions that you'd be amazed. They come here, and there are many. Those houses are too hot, too expensive, and we can't duplicate them as quickly as we could, Mike. I think of the temporary emergency stuff as just what that is. Emergency while we build something that might be more solid for long term. But this is an emergency. As a mayor, just the fact that you called it a crisis makes me realize you're hot on the trail here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very uncomfortable with the present regime, like taking credit for a housing development in Waikapu that's been a decade and a half going on with Mike Atherton, and all that. It's like, that's not only you, like you say, this is a group thing. You're not Superman. You didn't do it, baby. You were there when someone announced it. That's good. And you contributed, but so did you, Mike. I know that. And it's like you say, as a council person, I watch you. I see that the working with the community and involving them on structuring legislation is key to a successful government that the people are responsive to.
It's about the mayor, and it's about relationships. The mayor and the council, that relationship is so critical, because if it's fractured, you're not going to get a lot done. I mean, there might be a lot of high drama with the mayor saying this and that about the council saying this and that about the mayor, but that's not productive. It's not going to get things done. And you made an excellent point about these housing projects, like the Waikapu project. The council had to approve the rezoning, right? So before the mayor can take credit, you have to respect the fact that the council, took the initiative to rezone the project so you can have these houses built. So again, it comes down to everybody collectively contributing to any solution that addresses our concerns.
I guess when I say homelessness, I sadly am seeing unbelievable number of people, the homes they're in are being sold and they cannot find a rental for their life, and their life does depend on it. It's just extraordinary. on Lower Main from $975 for a one bedroom, just a couple of days ago, to $1,900 for a small one bedroom on Lower Main Street. I honor you, Lower Main Street, but $1,900 for a single on Lower Main Street? What?
Yeah.
Who can afford
chaos.
that?
Yeah.
And we know there's demand, and that's what, when people wonder about what's happening, if we don't create supply en masse in a hurry, even if it's temporary, we got to stop this thing that's going on. Would you remember in the early, I guess it was to me, early 1990s, when there was housing on the west side, a big land piece from the state available right next to the post office. And it seemed like they kept all the zoning, postponing. What is that? Can you as mayor help fast track something like that?
Well, you make a good point. I mean, just in general, not only with that, but other permit applications. A recent audit of the planning department, I think it was the zoning enforcement division, revealed that there are some issues and some deficiencies with the processing of permits in terms of time delays. Now, certainly part of it, I guess in the audit, they said part of it is sometimes on the applicant, but still a majority of the delays were related to the county. So I propose that we focus on the solutions, and I initiated that audit when nobody else wanted to, and from the administration, I'm not sure if how much attention the mayor was giving to this issue. I mean, certainly you can trust your director, but if complaints are coming in, at some point, you as the mayor, you need to intervene and correct the problem, so you don't have council members like myself initiating an audit of the department. And an audit is meant to help. But again, if you're driving the car and you're not checking on things, and then you have accidents, then there's obviously a problem. So I believe there are ways, maybe using software, that we can allow people to track where their permits are as part of being very transparent. I believe there's some software that we can consider purchasing and allow the public to link in and find out where you're at, what the status of your permit is. So that would help with the transparency process and moving things along. And again, making sure all departments are talking to each other and networking, because sometimes I have a permit that might be sitting on the water director's desk, and maybe the water director went on vacation, or whoever is authorized to sign up on the permit. So we need to keep the flow of communication going, and that again could be a task out of the mayor's office or the management office. So we can so those are some little ways that I think we can help move things along.
I also know that on council, I only know, for example, like I called Tasha Kama about a housing issue, and I know she's passionately trying and personally taking time. And I know that you take time with people on issues, and then you realize, I can only recommend. I can't do it because I'm not the mayor. I can't tell the director of XYZ department to do. I may recommend. So I can see that again, I'm putting words in your mouth, but as mayor, you can move a lot of ideas that you've had, and you don't have to wait for a council. You can take the authority that a mayor has, and whatever consequence, I just feel really very comfortable, and I'm relating it to you yet again, that Mike Molina is listening to me. I sometimes feel some of these people they're not listening. Their agenda is to get done what's here. You are extraordinary in putting out that warm and loving and open feeling. I hope that on your campaign trail, we have enough events for that to be shared, because you're personal. You're very personable, and your listening skill, maybe like from 8-year-olds, right? When you're listening to kids at school.
Exactly.
You really have to listen.
We know. And I grew up in a small business environment, and my parents really impressed the idea of customer service, and I've carried that idea with me throughout my career, even as a teacher, to provide and service our students as best we can. I mean, you're hired to do a job, so you go ahead and do it, and you communicate, and the same. I operate the same way as a council member. I serve you. You pay my salary, so I am obligated to help you. and listen to you, and follow up, because I know prior to getting into politics, I think what inspired me was I'd called up a council member's office and never got that return call or never got a return email. And I said to myself, if I ever became an elected official, I would not do that. I will, at the very least, I may not solve the constituent's problem, but at least I'll communicate with that constituent and let them know what's going on. And I think most people respect that, you become responsive and that you make an attempt to try and solve their problem. And like you were alluding to earlier, council members only have so much authority. We cannot order the departments to do certain things. We can ask them, but ultimately the directors answer to the mayor. So that's why you have the checks and balances.
Speaking of checks and balances, if you hired me to be a director, would you take a letter with a letter of resignation upon your arrival? Is that a customary thing? I never really understood that. Why you get a letter of resignation in file in case you want to get rid of a director?
I wouldn't do that. Yeah. No.
That was unusual.
I know. I mean, each mayor has his or her own policy. It's something I wouldn't, sort of like a pre-signed letter of resignation. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
I'm only wondering, I'm watching the world and it's exploding, God, and the divisiveness and separation. If I was a director and I had a letter like that sitting, I'd wonder, well, what kind of freedom do I have to really run this department? It's like, wow.
It's almost saying that I trust you, but,
That's why I'm saying it that way. I'm trying to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now there's so many issues, and it would only be fair to me as we're going to let you lead. But I know maybe you'll speak about water. And I don't want to go off on my tangent because I can get water from the air. I don't want to go off in some science answer. Right now, water is a big issue as well. And you may spot a few things. This ag thing is coming up, and a new department and a new expansion of our economy. You've heard me yapping about art and music, and that's a whole separate show. Mm-hmm. But I'm just looking for you to bring the issues that you feel important, that you like to relate your positions and feelings to our very broad audience.
Sure. Well, let's start with the most talked about issue, and that is housing. I know everybody's talking about the problems, but now we need solutions. And years ago, I'll just say, amongst the mayoral candidates, I'm the only one that has already authored and initiated legislation related to affordable housing and the Affordable Housing Fund. I authored that, and of course with help from the community. Let me make sure I had that in there.
Sure.
And also the county's first-time home buyers fund. Again, with input from the community. These two pieces of legislation have lasted for now 15 years, and it's helped many, many families, but we obviously need to do more. I would like to, as mayor, to make an aggressive effort to go out and purchase land from large landowners, or look at our existing inventory of county-owned lands where we can partner with a developer or a builder where we can cost share with them. In exchange for the developer building the houses and keeping the prices affordable, the county can help pay for the infrastructure, and we can set up a lease agreement with the developer and have maybe a property management firm to come out and go ahead and collect the rents and do the building maintenance and landscaping and everything else, or hire the folks to do that. And then once the lease agreement ends between the developer and the county after 30 years, the land, of course, is the county, and whatever is on there, those structures belong to the county. So we in turn, I see it as a win-win situation. And maybe we can even look at developing our own 100% affordable housing projects. I believe Kauai, they have a 201H project, 100% affordable, and we can learn from that project, because my understanding it's been pretty successful.
And of course, and the idea of fast tracking, right? The fact that once you see it and you know you can do it, the permitting process and the things that somehow each project doesn't have to be totally unique. They have models of houses. We could have multi-family models ready to go and crank this thing and get out of our crisis. I just love the fact that you're right on it. And, it sounds like you're ready to hit the ground running.
Exactly. You got it, Jason, because there's no time to stop. I mean, this is a crisis. Housing affects everything, because Jason, you know what I'm really worried about is one, the brain drain. Our young professionals, if they're not given a fair chance at getting a home,
Finally.
exactly, they're taking their talents elsewhere. And we're living longer. We need young healthcare professionals here, or people to stay, because otherwise, who's going to take care of us? I don't want to have to go to Honolulu because there's not enough healthcare specialists here in Maui County. If possible, I want these professionals here, so we have to provide them housing opportunities at all costs. And the way I see it, it's about investing in our people. We give those who need a home or a rental a hand up. It's a win-win, because then those who own the homes, they become ratepayers into our real property tax system, and they continue to provide the much needed services we have here. So it's an investment in our people. So for example, with the county paying for the infrastructure costs of a project, that's one way we can work with the builders, provide houses that can remain affordable in perpetuity. And the bottom line is just giving as many folks an opportunity to own a home, or if they choose to rent. So it's all about inventory. And you as a realtor, you know that.
Well, it's interesting. It's all about inventory. People stop me if I was going to say, what is the number one issue? It is such a giant issue. It's like the 800-pound elephant in the room. Yeah. Whenever you talk to anybody, that's the first thing. And people that are saying, I'm really not happy that Hawaiians can't even afford to own a home in their own island. It is, and I want the Hawaiians to hear that. There's a lot of love and of respect from a lot of people you don't think are your friends, or that you don't acknowledge, or they don't. An amazing amount of caring about what's happened to these islands. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really believe that, again, the dollars per visitor spent doesn't have to be down. They can spend a lot. We can improve services here and create health things. And again, in one show, you can't cover it all. All these years you've been hearing me interview all these people. Who's listening? Who's getting to hear? There are so many solutions that are already here for so long. They should only be ashamed of themselves for not listening, really. When I sat with Tom Giserni at the new Maui Arts and Cultural Center, president of Maui Electric, and we're talking about solar energy in 1995, and we're talking about trajectory and walk. And I watched the struggle through all these years to get the brains around it. And when I was green, and they thought I was a radical, now everybody's green, and they think they don't even remember. I was talking about this 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Good point you made, Jason. I mean, my first go around on the council, I tended to be more business centric and not paying as much attention to the environment as I am now. Things change. Back when I was on the council in 2000, the issue of climate change wasn't as big an issue for a lot of people as it is now. So I think as an elected official, you have to learn to accept change and evolve and accept new ideas, and not just be so boxed in on a certain set of values or ideas. You have to learn to adapt to change and put aside egos. I've always believed that, hey, if I didn't come up with the idea and someone else does, I'm okay with that, because it helps our community. I've had work with people who feel like, well, if they didn't come up with the idea, it's not a good thing. Maybe it's just all about themselves. I mean, so be it, that's the way they are. But you have to put your egos aside in this business, especially, and just work with people and give them credit too.
Let me ask a funny question. Years ago, I remember there were issues about the sunshine laws, that when you were working with other people, you can only see them, I don't even know the rules, in a public place with so many people around. They're afraid there are too many conspiracies and stuff. Can you meet with the mayor? I mean, there's a chance to be unofficial and somehow have conversations?
Yes, you can. If it's just, well, my understanding is as long as it's no more than 2 elected officials at a time. Now, if there is a third party involved, I guess it has to, you can't talk business if it's more than 2 elected officials.
What about online with something like this? You probably wonder, hey, Jason, you're a candidate. A candidate interviewing candidates? Yeah, isn't that fun? Because no one has stepped up all this time. I've been doing these. You see that now for all these years. But what you say is just so important, Mike. I can't tell you how impressed I am with how open I'm sure everyone is seeing you are. Besides, now we kind of looked at housing in one way, and we know we have to build those low end, I say low end, no HUD vouchers and no places, and Steadfast has to close, they have no inventory. It's like, it's beyond. How do we build houses if they can put refugees in tents in cities? Aren't we able to do something in an emergency to kind of really step up the problem for the homeless people and finding solutions?
Yeah, I believe we can, honestly, but at this point, it's a tough challenge because, for one, you have homeless folks or unsheltered folks are coming in from other states, and the talk that I hear is that they're offering their citizens one-way tickets, and of course, who wouldn't want to come to Hawaii for a good year on record? But basically, it's passing off their responsibilities on us. I would be in favor of the state exercising a class action lawsuit against these municipalities who do this to us. You know, sort of like they're shirking their responsibilities, but now we're having to use our resources to take care of what should be their kuleana or their responsibility.
And they're also, besides the people that are being shipped in, an extraordinary, greater than the number I hear reported of homeless, greater number in needs. I had people tell me, you know, when all the homeless, there was this huge thing out there next to the pier, and then the mayor, Manarakawa, cleaned it off, and now the services can't be delivered so easily. It is a real issue. It just really, it's a cry for me to have the public say, we can help. When you see someone that has a need, help. It's extraordinary what a little help will do for people. Right. It just really is a part that really is crazy for me. There's so many people in. Yeah,
and Jason, there's some remedies that can help. Like, for example, for South Maui, they're experiencing an increase in the unsheltered population. So I think we need an institution or an organization like a Kahului Seat out in South Maui, because we've got one in Central Maui and I believe in West Maui. So I believe there's an opportunity to do that over there. And, you know, if it's not tiny homes, other types of structures that can be put on county-owned land, or negotiating with a land acquisition with, you know, the large landowners. But it's important to bring the services to make sure the wraparound services are there. I know the Maui Police Department, they have a bus that goes around the island on various days of the week that can provide some basic medical services and dental services and other types of other needs. So that may help, but again, these are just band-aids, you know.
When I've spoken up close to homeless people that are chronically homeless, they also would like to see some kind of plan to almost give them a direction, what work they can do. They would be so happy to be involved in their own solutions and not be treated like someone who has, I don't want to say, it's just, I think, a matter of learning that you're amazing to see who's homeless. It's just, when you get up close, you're like, wow, why are these people homeless? For chronically here in Maui, we have such a, I'm bringing it up because I really mean it. I've met people that you'd think are absolutely useless in drinking and now or drugs. They want something
really good, Jason, because when we were getting a lot of these federal CARES Act monies, one of the things I proposed to the mayor was sort of like Roosevelt's New Deal or Public Works you know, hire these folks that they can be park caretakers or do some light administrative work and to support some of our departments and
be able to keep things safe. And all these expenses, you know, the people can have their own pride in their lives again, something to build for. I watch
Shelburne County employees, you know, that could be one remedy, at least put money in their pockets.
And a perception by the public to, you know, obviously not everyone, but a perception by the public to realize that homeless doesn't mean useless.
Good point. I like that. Yeah.
You know,
and you know, another idea I had was maybe opening up our community centers, because you have a lot of our unsheltered, they have kids that need some Wi-Fi services for school, right? They have their tablets or computers that they take home, but they sometimes can't find areas that's a hotspot so that they can hook up their computers to.
Well, they can charge to get power. Now, you know how many people say to me, I'm homeless, they've stopped everywhere I can plug in my phone. Yeah. How am I supposed to get services?
Charge stations. Exactly. We could open up the community centers on a temporary basis, maybe from say 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., where parents can bring their kids, and they can get a Wi-Fi hotspot there, and also an opportunity to charge phones and other electronic devices. But yeah, some of the folks I met out in Paia said the same thing to me. One of their biggest needs would be charge stations to charge up their cell phones, and I thought that was interesting. I never really had thought about that.
Well, that's why I say you don't realize just how incredibly valuable these little bits will change the lives of so many people, to be able to find solutions. What about water? I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the water issue. Maui Pono wanting the rights, and that may be a state issue, but have we looked here in the county I'm always amazed that we have this heavy saline EL aquifer. We know about it for 25 years, and I don't see any other things happening. What happens?
Well, I know the county, we did set aside, I believe, roughly $9 million to purchase the Wailuku water system, or up to $9 million. But whatever offer the administration made was recently rejected by Mr. Chumley from the Wailuku Water Company. I think it was way below what he was expecting. So I think we need to continue to go forward and come up with a workable number. Regarding the East Maui system, I'm in favor of doing a lease with the state rather than with the large landowner, to keep water in the public's hands rather than with a private entity. So I'm in favor of doing that. And then, of course, we can talk about how the water should be distributed and how it should be prioritized for housing or for agriculture. And that's something we need to, again, bring the community in to offer their mana'o and input as to how we want to best decide to use this water.
And you remember earlier where you were talking about new technology, or if we take advantage of things in the world, you can take water out of the air. And some of these situations that I don't see anyone exploring, I really know that the public wants to take that risk, that running to the future, which is why I set up my thing about art and music to raise money to supplement development of technologies and show they work, do them on scale, show it to the world and live in it. We could solve this water problem. I often just don't understand. I really don't understand why we don't have the ears. It could be tremendous. It doesn't have to be the county, but the county getting involved and giving its blessing so that this can happen independent. When I talk about it and people, they're like, why isn't this happening? Yeah. Well, maybe it can happen.
Yeah, well, Jason, the mayor can serve as that conduit for the community to go out and voice his or her concerns as to this is what we need, whether it be at the state legislature or making his or her feelings known to our congressional delegation. That's why the mayor serves a very important role as an ambassador and as a facilitator and be the messenger for the people.
And just what I said, and be able to be the government that encourages the private sector's involvement, because they're the ones with the money and the solutions. And then the government's involved to help make that process easier. That's a government that feels. If I was Republican, I'd say that's a Republican idea. And if I was a Democrat, I'd say that's a Democrat idea. It's an idea, responsiveness from the community to tell the government and show the government. I want to see more of those large landowners being equity partners in projects like you're talking about. I want to be able to see financing happen because some of these entities own banks. There's so much that could happen. I feel like the Economic Development Department needs a shot in the arm to help people besides the grants they offer. There just needs to be that outside the box. I don't even think there is a box. Outside the box thinking to generate the things that'll make more local activity happen. I cry when I see companies coming here, starting stores that they have the deep pockets to build Canes and Chick-a-Phil and the whole place. Yeah. Where are we here?
Yeah, where's the housing too, And you mentioned thinking outside of the box. I got support from my council colleagues recently to set aside $270,000 for a pilot program for a legislation that I'm going to be putting out soon. It's called the Home Restoration Grant. You have a lot of longtime local families who own structures that are dilapidated or in need of heavy repair, but it's hard to come up with money, to pay for plans or permits and construction and so forth. So my proposal for this pilot program, from one dilapidated structure from each community plan district would receive up to $30,000 to assist the owner with whatever repairs that are needed. So that way you can move families back into these homes, and these homes can be turned into would be converted from eyesores into homes that can house people. And of course, there's some certain criteria that would have to be considered. Homes got to be a minimum 30 years old, and upon the sale of that home after a certain time period, then the homeowner can reimburse the county for that. So it's sort of like a hand up, a zero interest loan in some way, shape, or form. And I modeled it after legislation in LA County, because you mentioned thinking outside of the box. That's the kind of person I am, and so are you. Let's look at what other municipalities are doing, and not, again, let's box ourselves to just one type of thinking. Let's look at what others are doing, and who knows, it could be a fit for us as well.
Let me ask you a question. I don't often ask this, but I'm running for council. If I was on council, would you find me to be someone that you could work with?
Yes, I could. Yeah. I've known you for many years, Jason, and you're a very up and up person. One of the analogies you always used when you and I would have our discussions was, at some point we need to put the swords down and work together, and that's a wonderful quality you have. You've always been somebody that's very even keeled, that's willing to listen to both sides of the issue and not have your mind made up until you've gotten all the facts to make a fully informed decision. And that,
where I learned that in sales. They said, look, if you sit at the opposite sides of the table, they're feeling you're against them. It's a combat. When you're on the same side or in a round table, when we all are putting in, you create a different feeling. That's why this neutral zone happened. I just want to create a place where we all can talk, where we all realize we're going to come out of this and it's going to serve everyone.
Right. And positive energy.
And that's how I feel about Mike Molina. You're that kind of a mayor. You've been on council and with the mayor, and I know that these offices and these places have been made greater because of your being there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We have only, I want to say, 5 minutes left. I don't want to cut off issues. Give it a moment and think of what you want to make sure you talk to people about while you have this chance.
Okay. Well, again, it's doing a lot of outreach and listening and hearing people's concerns. I've always been taught to listen first, talk after. Hear the person out, empathize with them as if their problem was your problem, and again, be patient. And I try not to get into any verbal spats. If I feel strongly about one issue, about an issue that I disagree with that individual, I'm always looking for a way to compromise. It's like, well, although I may not agree with you on this, but how about this? Would this work for you? So I like to use that approach. And again, to me, it's all about the relationship you have with people and how you approach it. And I've always believed in trying to restore people's confidence in government, confidence and trust. That's what it's all about. When I talk to a lot of people on the street, the most important priority I've heard from people is, I just want to be heard. I just want to be heard, and try your best to help me. And most people understand you're not going to be able to solve every problem, but all they want you to do is try and be responsive. Return those phone calls and emails. Because when you don't do that, that's when people get frustrated, and they get frustrated with all levels of government. And you can't blame them, because they're paying our salaries. And like I said to you earlier in the program, I am obligated to serve you. That's why we're called public servants.
Well, I always feel served by you. We all around Maui County in council, we have these districts we represent, yet we're voted on by everybody everywhere in Maui County. So wherever you are, Mike Molina represents you on council, and all the other people that are on council, I'm sure they all feel like this last call about district voting versus not. How long we've been talking about that? When the charter, all these charter things, why has that never been part of the discussion? Because how do you not have an advantage when you're known on 3 islands but you have this little district you represent, and people think that you're only from that district. It's
Yeah.
still not understood by people.
Yeah, it's a quirky system we have where, you have to come from a certain district to qualify for running. But then once you're in there, you're responsible to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas most other municipalities, you're just responsible for your district, right? Or if you just made it really pure district voting, but there's pros and cons to it, the way I see it. I mean, once you're in office, you better, even though I come from the Makua Haiku Paia area, but if Jason Schwartz from Kahului calls me with a problem, I'm accountable to him.
Right, or Molokai or Lanai or anywhere, right? Exactly.
And I mean, it's tough on the candidate in terms of expenses, because you're going to have to go all over, Molokai and Lanai and all the other areas of Maui to.
Well, that's the reason people say district voting, because.
Yeah, and I can see that point too. The candidates who have money certainly have an advantage when it comes to that, as far as the ability to move around and get their messages out, or putting out.
Well, think of it this way. If this television was in Oahu, I would have had 30 years of advertising, thousands of shows. It's like people know my face. These other people in this race have money. I'm hoping that people that know me over time, like you and others, it's amazing. It's the parents and the grandparents who remember me.
Yeah.
The kids don't realize I am this force. I dedicated my life. I could have been selling expensive real estate or doing all kinds of stuff, but I've been dedicated. It's time to run. And I'm just real excited because I would be comfortable working with you as mayor. And I know that you'd be listening. And
thank you, Jason. Well, if the election just so happens doesn't work out for both of us, you and I and everyone else who didn't make it, I see all of us as winners, because we're all willing to put our necks on the line. You win by trying.
Right.
You can't control the outcome of an election, but what you can control is your message, how you present yourself, and you've made an honest effort to try and make a commitment to serve the public. And that's in my eyes, that's being a winner.
And afterwards, no matter whether you win or lose, you can move these programs we're talking about forward, because the government is a servant of the people. That's us.
Yeah. And our ideas, who knows, the ideas that we share could be used by the person that's in office too, which is good. So we win as a community,
And we can lead them. I still say, if you didn't have the public helping lead you, a lot of the things that you were doing wouldn't have manifested the way they did.
And it's important to praise everybody's contributions, because that's what makes successful legislation. Everybody contributing something.
Everyone out there in television, radio, and internet land, I'm sure you agree with me. And Facebook Live here, thank you for that. Mike Molina is a choice to be reckoned with for mayor choice here in Maui in 2022. Mike, thank you for joining me here. I hope that if ever you want to come on again with me, wherever I am, you're always welcome with me. And I know you're going to see your website's going to be on the screen for everyone to be able to get. You're a pleasure. Thank you for being here with all of us.
Same here, Jason, and thank you for the invite. It's always a pleasure to talk story with you anytime.
Thank you, Mike. Blessings, everyone out there. You can watch this again and everything at MauiNeutralZone.com. You're going to probably see links from Mike Molina and all of us to try to get these shows out and bring people up close and personal. Mike Molina, thank you once again. Blessings to you and the family.
Same here. Thank you, and blessings to you, Jason. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Aloha. How was that? Seemed good.
Good.
We covered a lot of territory. We were really up close and personal, and I think that's what we'll deliver well. And I'm hoping you'll share it like I'll share it, and we'll all, to encourage people to get it as widely seen. Obviously, it helps me, but your personality and these kind of long formats provide a different kind of experience to people that I really think is needed.
Yeah, thank you. I like your approach to very, we do it relaxed style and just, talk story. That I think a lot of people connect to that. I like that. I like that.
And we get to see who you are, and you're a great guy. That's my personal choice.
Same here, Jason.
I'm going to jump off so Facebook Live won't say, why are you running this tape? Mike, it's been a pleasure.
All right, Jason.
I'll see you very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Blessings.
Wow.
Aloha.